Today we're going to have a look at an interesting pen. It came in this beautiful box. This is actually that sort of Japanese paper. In there is a little wooden box. This is a platinum pen. Oh dear, I'm trying to figure out which way up these characters are, and I'm going to display my absolute ignorance. I don't know. I'm so sorry, but I'm sure that at least 10 of you will point out my error. Platinum Izumo. Very interesting, because I think we can consider the Izumo Platinum's flagship pen, or at least one of their flagships, I would say. Very nice pen. This one I got through Pen Chalet, and very interesting pen. So just for the record, this was not sent for me to review. I purchased it, right? I got it from Pen Chalet, picked it up there. Very nice pens. A lot of Urushi stuff. They have very fancy ones with special lacquer, etc. This is a nice one. I like it. I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. But before I do that, I'll do a writing sample. Old order, hard to get out. Now then, let's uncap the pleasure. Okay, so here we go with the platinum. And the platinum comes in this nice little box. I like this paper. And then we have this wooden box. And in the wooden box is a whole bunch of stuff. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. Here we have this. No! Do not post your pen. You may want to, but don't. I know you're young, I know you want to do all these things, but trust me, you have your life ahead of you. Don't throw it away. Don't post this pen. Okay. You have this, which is a thing, which I think, now I'm not 100% sure, because of course this is all in Japanese, as far as I can tell. I think this has something to do with the Urushi lacquering, judging by the picture, but I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of nice, and it folds so you can put this on your desk so that when people come in they see that you are a snob. Okay, what did I just tell you? Don't post this frigging pen. Alright? Not that difficult. Try to keep up. Here we have some filling instructions. That's always nice. It is in English too, so that's nice. You should be able to figure that out. Here we have the warranty card. 1 year from day of purchase. That's really not that long. And then we have more information on Platinum, Urushi and Tamanori, a little bit of an explanation. And this is Japanese and English. So, good to know. Then we have the little thing that was on the clip, and which just goes to show what pen it is. We have a little plastic bag, which I assume, I kind of forgot, but I assume held most of these papers. We have the little pen sleeve. We have a cartridge, as I said, the gift that keeps on giving. This is incredibly soft, and I kind of want to pet it all day, but I can't. And we have this beautiful little pen kimono, which is actually not super soft on the inside. It feels kind of like a slightly soft nylon. To be fair, I was a little disappointed, because I was expecting something a little fancier for a flagship. But okay, we have this cute little thing, which kind of clips onto the elastic band there. So there you have it. This is the box. This is the pen. And before I zoom in a tiny bit, I'm going to show you this next to a Lamy Safari. And as you can see, the pen the Izumo is quite a bit bigger than a Lamy Safari, both in length and in girth. Okay, let's zoom in, cover the parts of the pen, and then do a writing sample. Now, this Izumo, this is the Akatame Red, and that means that it's basically black lacquer, but it has these red highlights. You see it on the barrel and cap, and right there on top of the cap where the clip is held in place. Okay, interestingly shaped pen. The cap is slightly bulbous, it's kind of barrel shaped. Then the pen body kind of tapers down here, then flares out, and then tapers down again. So it is an interesting shape. It's not just a barrel. It's not just a cigar shape. So I had to take a sip of water. It's unique, because I don't think I've seen a lot of pens like this. Then we have the clip. The clip is simple and says platinum. I kind of like that. And the clip is definitely quite usable. Sorry, that was not entirely in view. Sorry. Quite usable. The pen unscrews. The section tapers down. Has threads kind of in the middle. Well, not really in the middle. What we call that? 1/3. We have a little ring there, and then we have the nib. And this is not a massive nib. When you look at this pen, this doesn't strike me as an enormous nib. So I'll come back to that, as you have come to expect from me. This is in fact the President nib. So it actually says President, right? It's 18K, this is a broad, it's platinum. It kind of has this sort of arrowhead thing on it, which I kind of like, and it has something else I like, the heart-shaped breather hole. Yes, quite nice. And then there is this plastic feed. The Platinum President is, of course, another of their pens, a little bigger than the famous 3776 pen, and this pen, the Izumo, shares the nib with that pen. You unscrew the pen and find this platinum converter, and this is proprietary, so you need a platinum converter or cartridges. A regular standard international will not fit. With all the lacquer on it, this barrel is relatively heavy. Not super heavy, but relatively heavy. There you have it. Should I post it? No. No. What did I tell you? Don't post it. Okay, let's, oops, there was the cap falling over. Let me grab a wee sheet of paper and do a bit of writing. Platinum Izumo 18K broad. The ink is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy. I never know if it's Corn Poppy or Corn Poppy. Is it one word or two words? You be the judge. Okay, let's do some writing. The one thing I have found writing with this pen over the past weeks is that the nib is relatively dry. For me, this could be a bit wetter. I have just inked it up a couple hours ago because it was completely dry, so I had no other option but ink it up for the review. Sorry. I'm trying to correct myself. So it may seem a little wetter now, but usually it is a bit drier. And I find that this is the type of pen where I actually have to exert a bit of pressure to make it write the way I like it to write. Now, there, of course, is a bit of a function of the ink and of the paper as well, but I would like to have seen this nib to be a bit wetter. And if you look at the slits of the tines under a loop, you see the two tines are very close together. So this is nothing a Nibmeister wouldn't be able to fix, but for pretty much a $700 pen, I was expecting something a little wetter, but maybe that's just my personal preference. Okay, line variation, as always, very, very careful. There is some to be had, but it's by no means a flex nib, so be very, very careful with this. Okay, reverse writing, even if it is a bit dry, it is a pleasant writer, comfortable to hold, which I kind of like, and you can turn it over and flip it from a broad to, I would say, an extra fine, so that is actually quite nice. It's not super scratchy, and it also seems to keep writing, because some pens when you do this they dry out after 2 or 3 letters, but it doesn't happen with this one. So that is quite nice. I'm quite excited about my new Izumo. So, end of the writing sample. Let's see what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Okay, what do I like and what do I not like about the Platinum Izumo? In this case, the Akatame Red. Well, there's a couple of things to like. I mean, it is a flagship pen, and that means that you can expect a certain level of quality. You're not buying a $20 pen, it's expensive. And I think this pen has a couple of things really going for it. I mean, it's a nicely sized pen. It's not super small, but it's not so massive that it's uncomfortable to use. So I think for many people this will be a nice size. The pen is relatively light, I assume, because it often is. I'm just sniffing it because I want to say I assume it's an ebonite body. I can't really pick up the ebonite, but I am recovering from a cold, so I don't smell that well. In any case, fairly light. So it's not a metal pen. I'm thinking it's ebonite with the Urushi lacquer over it, and that Urushi actually weighs a little bit, so you do feel it a little bit. Even though it's a fairly light pen, you do feel a little bit of the weight of the lacquer, usually. Because there's multiple layers of the Urushi lacquer, right? It's a cartridge converter filled pen, and that's always a point of contention, a point of discussion. I mean, this is a pen, let's get that clear out there. The MSRP is $7.95 US, so $795. I picked this up because Pen Chalet had a deal going on for $636 US, but that's not a cheap pen, right? That is not a cheap pen. And there are people who will say, well, at that price it needs to be it needs to be a piston filler. There is something to be said for that. For a Japanese pen, you could also expect something like a one-way shutoff valve. But it is a cartridge converter filled pen, and not everybody likes that. Now, as the years have passed and I have used a lot of pens, I have actually found cartridge converter pens to be very easy because they are so easy to clean. Also, if the converter breaks, that's the moving part, throw it out. Buy a new converter, a couple of bucks, and you're set. You have to send in a pen for a piston repair. A lot of companies now charge you. Don't forget, this has a 1-year warranty. So if this was a piston filler, you can't disassemble it for home maintenance, or even if you could, if the piston rod snaps, you need to buy a new piston, right? Which typically is quite a bit more expensive than a converter. Now, I know that I have in the past said that it should be a piston filler, etc. I'm just revising my opinion. Guess what? You change, and your opinion changes over time, and it's okay. Okay? Now, I know full well there's going to be people who will say, no, it should be a piston filler, or it should be a one-way shutoff valve, it should at least be eyedroppable, all that stuff. I understand. And I'm not saying it's not a fair point. At this price, what's really causing the price of the pen? The Urushi is expensive, but Wancho could make an Urushi pen for 450 bucks. So what is it? The 18K nib? Yeah, well, it's not like Platinum buys the nibs per 3. I mean, they buy them by lot, or they make them. Actually, I'm recovering from a cold. I'm not 100% sure right now if Platinum makes their own nibs. Someone will point this out to me, I'm sure, and you would be right. But in any case, where is the value? Right? Well, it's the craftsmanship of the Urushi work, which is something that takes a lot of expertise. You don't just do that in your attic. You need to kind of know what you're doing. But still, it's not a cheap pen. So I understand the thing about the filling system. Other things, well, I have 3 more issues. One thing I already pointed out in the previous part of the video. To me, this nib could be a bit bigger. It could be a little bigger. I think it's right now it looks a tiny bit disproportional. That could be me, but I would have liked something a tiny bit bigger. Here you have a standard European number 6 size nib on this Visconti on top, and I think that already would look a bit nicer on this pen. So I'm not looking for anything massive, I just think it could be a little bigger than it is now, and it would look a little bit more in proportion. That's one thing. The second thing was that the nib actually wrote a little dryly. It's usable, it's not so dry that you can't use it, but again, for a nib at this price range, I would kind of expect it to write really, really nicely. And I actually found myself having to exert a little bit of pressure as I wrote to make it write the way I like it to write. Without pressure, it's very dry. So that is an issue, and I would love to see for Platinum to pick that up and actually make sure that that does not happen, because if you, we're not talking about a Platinum Preppy, this is a Platinum Izumo. So for your flagship, I think you want to make sure that every nib writes beautifully out of the box and not dryly. The final thing is something that I read an article about probably about a year ago now. And I think that was from the gentleman who runs Independence. So are we supposed to say independent or independence? Oh, how confusing. Well, anyway, he wrote this article about these metal rings at the end of sections, and he said that that's actually a very bad thing, because often, after enough time, they start to corrode. I mean, not only because sometimes your fingers touch them, but also because they get dipped into ink, which is a liquid, and this is a metal, right? So that can corrode. You see that in some Viscontis too, but he did not consider this to be a very good sign in a pen. And I have to say, I haven't really had any of mine rust, but I get the point. Maybe that was not the best choice to make here. Now, having said all that, let's look at the bottom line. As far as I'm concerned, what you buy here is a flagship pen. It's a pretty pen. It has Urushi, which a lot of people like. It has a gold nib, 18K. It comes in a bunch of nib options. I don't think it's terrible. I see a couple of points to improve, but I think it's quite a nice pen, nice size, a bit larger, but not too large, because I think for many people this will be a comfortable pen size, and that's all there's to it. It's really not that bad. I kind of like it. So, there you have it. I hope this was useful, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.